to welcome Gullar Tukal on the stage to do a rendition of The Venetian Blind. Woo!
What's up, everybody? I'm Gfo Tukal. I was in the Poetry Rumble last year, and I had a blast. And this is the poem I wrote last year for the assignment. It's called The Venetian Blind. For those of you who don't know what a Venetian blind is, it's like imagine your window shutters. You know how there's a kind that you can pull the string and it goes like that, or there's a kind that's got that wooden piece and you kind of pull it and adjust and it closes. That's a Venetian blind. This one of the kids in 5th period, he said, "So it's a poem about blind Venetians?" And I said, "No, because a blind Venetian, the poem will be really short. If he wakes up in the morning, can't see, falls in the canal at the end." Anyway, this is the poem. A haiku. My name is Gullar. I like to read and write poems. Haikus are so fun. Of course that's not all, you belligerent fools. Finally, I bring you a poem that is oh so cool. A poem so good it ought bring tears to your eyes, with a rough draft so good there was not a thing to revise. Able to see through a falsifier's lies, it was read in the background as Jesus was baptized. But let's move on from this poem's excellence, because I can sense your growing restlessness, and if I never did, this poem would be directionless. It's the meat of the poem you want to hear, have its wonderful flow rest upon your ear, but do not fret, the time is here. It was a cold, snowy night, just kidding, it's Florida, and I procrastinated as long as one could possibly procrastinate, putting every petty paper places people rarely peek. All the prevalent distractions I needed to eradicate. The neighbor's barking dog I needed to assassinate. My mental force field I needed to activate if I even wanted to begin to say the word graduate. Now, inspiration is an interesting thing. It may come from the lyrics of a song that you sing, or it may come from the flowers at the start of your spring. But whatever inspiration I had vanished as the phone began to ring. It was Connor. Hello, Sir Connor, how are you doing today? Good. Why are you talking like that? Talking like what? What are you trying to say? Okay, Gullar, stop rhyming, it's really annoying. But Gullar without rhyme is like RJ without glasses, or Boca High students being on time to their classes. All right, Gullar, that was a good one, but stop, it's so dumb. I'll stop when you tell me your reason for calling. I just want to know if you finished your poem. That's precisely what I'm trying to do, but you're keeping me stalling. You're an idiot. And after those exact words, he simply hung up. I looked at my paper and thought to myself, yup, it's 11:45 and not even the title, and when it comes to my grade, this assignment is vital. Then I thought to myself, what would make an English teacher smile? Finally, to my head came an idea worthwhile, an idea sure to make Miss Garofalo rejoice. I'd say each stanza with a different author's voice. To go chronologically, Gatsby came first, but then I soon realized Gatsby would be the worst. Only with Sparknuts had I ever conversed, not an actual line from the book had I ever heard versed. Sherman came next, but as a failure too, I'd said penis 13 times by only line 2. For the next part, I did what Holden would lament. I watched several Mark Wahlberg movies to pick up an accent. Hey you think you're hip? Well, you're not. You're just a jit. And you think you a homie? You're not. You're just a big phony. And on that note, I decided I'd get to the closing. It was getting late and I'd started off dozing. I decided to name my poem the first thing that came to mind, and in the end it was The Venetian Blind. Thank you.
All right. I wrote this poem to my true love. An open love letter to Google. Dear Google, I'll never forget when we first met. I was in 3rd grade and didn't know the net. But when my teacher pulled you up on Internet Explorer, I have to confess, my head almost exploded. I couldn't internalize what you represented. I could not realize what you really meant. But you were immortalized and always remembered. From my soul, you were never erased. And when I saw myself in need, When I desperately needed my brain to feed, I reached out to the word that on my heart had been seared. Google, that moment, all my doubts disappeared. By pushing a few buttons and hitting the right keys, the knowledge of the world was of enough to me. And oh, you did more than teach me. You gave me wings. You freed me. No longer did I have to conform to the colloquial norm of being a yes man. My own thoughts to contrive, to personal conclusions arrived. I could back up my positions with facts and cut the ropes that bound my thinking. Google, you took me to the moon and back. You showed me the desert and the highlands. And in the click of the mouse, my world started spinning. Literally, on its axis and round the sun. And you, Google, you showed me a color-coded diagram that explained it all. And then, the stars were just pixels on the screen. You even showed me why the sky couldn't be green. And I, Google, I was in nerd love with you. I have to profess my feelings for you, even though my heart can see through. And I know our love cannot be, but Google, just listen to me. My thoughts get lost in your doodles. You're more sexy and more delicious than noodles. Searching with you makes my heart palpitate. To be with you, the world I would abdicate. But you're awesome and you're cool are almost cruel. Yes, you translate my feelings, but can't you see me kneeling, begging beside the desk for you to put an end to my distress? Oh, Google, can you map me directions to your heart? Can you Gmail me and tell me you don't want to be apart? Send me a doc, a testament to your feelings. Show me a video and tell me that you need me. Because, oh, Google, you magnificent beast. Without you, I may as well be deceased. Can you see? I'm done. Finished. Uncool. Without you, I'm going to fail in school.
Next up we have Jack Jones.
This is my poem, Education. When you start slacking off in school, you forget to do your homework. And when you forget to do your homework, you don't read Persepolis. When you don't read Persepolis, you start to bomb English class. And when you bomb English class, you get emails saying you might not graduate. And when your parents read that email that you might not graduate, your mother tries to murder you. And when she tries to murder you, you run away from home. And when you run away from home, you have no money. And when you're out of money, you engage in illegal activities. When you engage in these illegal activities, you become Boca's Most Wanted. And when you become Boca's Most Wanted, you change your name to Billy Bob Joe. And when you change your name to Billy Bob Joe, you have to go to Kentucky. And when you go to Kentucky, you take that really wrong turn. And when you take that really wrong turn, you find a cartel in Kentucky. And when you find the cartel in Kentucky, you realize you need to learn how to fight. So when you need to learn how to fight, you join the U.S. Army. And when you join the U.S. Army, you get sent on a plane to Afghanistan. When you get sent on that plane to Afghanistan, you end up in Vietnam. When you end up in Vietnam, you need to eat. When you need to eat, you eat contaminated food. And when you eat that contaminated food, you end up in the hospital. And when you end up in the hospital, they don't have any morphine. And when they don't have morphine, they give you heroin. And when you take heroin, you go crazy. And when you go crazy, you can't leave Vietnam. And when you can't leave, you start to get desperate. And when you get desperate, you get high on poppy seeds. When you get high on poppy seeds, you become infatuated with working in a rice paddy in Vietnam. And when you become infatuated with working in a rice paddy in Vietnam, don't do that. Do stellar in school.
disorder. What could possibly be so bad about ADD? Well, I'm here to let you know how bad it could really be. First of all, ADD is very tough on the mind. I often find myself losing focus on simple tasks such as reading and writing. And I often go off track and start talking about other things, like waffles. I like waffles. They're kind of like pancakes, but better. And they're cooked in a way cooler fashion. I mean, the pancakes are cooked in a plain old pan, but waffles, ooh. They're cooked with a cool, rotating grid-like contraption. And sometimes, I especially love when I go to hotels and have the free ones, but sometimes people forget to put the non-stick spray on it, and there's waffle pieces everywhere. And then, and over something great, I went to New York City. I stayed in Hampton Inn, which is in a prime location, by the way. But people constantly kept forgetting to put the spray on the waffle maker. And this one idiot even put a styrofoam plate in the toaster, and the whole room filled with smoke, and it smelled like tires for the whole day. What were we talking about again? Oh yeah, ADD sucks. ADD also makes me zone out. And when I say zone out, I mean zone out. Although, I did learn how to kind of control it, so that I can enter my own world whenever I want to. It's pretty nice. I mean, I can only hear what I want to hear when I want to hear it, so that's good. But sometimes, I miss out on it. I have to reread questions, and I have to get people to repeat things, because it literally goes in one ear and right out the other. And sometimes, when I can't think of just the right word, I sometimes, I'm sorry, what? I also miss out on a lot. I have to get people to repeat things, I have to reread questions on tests. Wait. Oh, my bad. ADD sucks.
Prom, strom, nom, bomb. Yeah, that's it. Our prom should definitely get bombed. I mean, who even wants to go to such a dumb show? Prom makes me want to hit a baby just because my date said maybe. It sounds like the best, but really it's caused such stress. Dresses, there's none to be seen, unless I want to look 14 in that cheap, chintzy, ugly, bedazzled piece of shit. Okay, maybe I want to go a little bit. And don't even get me started on the money. I'm sorry, honey, but $125 is gonna fly unless I find a hot, rich guy. And until this date, I'll try not to gain any weight. I'm already flat, I can't be fat. I could look like a princess and be prom queen. Well, I guess that's a little ambitious. At this point, I'm ready to give it all up. But there is that cute guy on my first hour, and I just die if he brought me a flower, and I'll show down the stairs as he stares at me. Except wait, yesterday he looked at me like I was fish bait. Let's face it, I'm not gonna have a date. I go on Instagram, and I'm just like, damn, girls get asked nearly every way, and I just hope I don't have to pay. I've never been this stressed. I'm so not blessed. Is a date too much to ask for? I'm not even a whore. I just want to have fun and dance with maybe a little romance. I say I hate it all, but really it just makes me want to fall. At this point, I'm going to kill whoever came up with this stupid dance. I'll probably take them all the way to France. Why is it such a big deal? This situation is so not ideal.
I really felt that. Yeah.
Go for it. You're going to hear a lot of poems today about how guys are the enemy and how they always want one thing from girls. But our poem is from the guy's perspective, and this is one for the good guys. Now I know this isn't the poem that you all wanted to hear, but this is a subject that I love near and dear. You girls always complain about how you can't find a man. But all the good guys are just sitting here like, damn! Don't you know they exist? You can't expect a prince when you act so heartless. You see, I can be a douchebag, and I can screw over girls. But that's not the idea my mom had for me when she brought me into this world. She taught me to make the girl my priority when I decide to call her mine.
And I swear some of these girls think that putting them before you is a goddamn crime. Nice guys get compared to Gandhi, Martin Luther King, and Malcolm X because they're the ones who respect women and don't try to pressure them into sex. Oh, some of you girls want a bad boy because you think you can change them? How about a nice guy who's already a gem?
Yeah.
Girls these days go for guys with deep pockets, not the ones on Valentine's Day that can barely afford a box of chocolates. But what they lack in wealth, they make up for with class. They're not the type to break their necks looking at another girl's ass. But unfortunately, we know this doesn't just happen to us. It's an epidemic today that most guys don't have trust in a girl. Because as soon as some guy comes along that has more friends, more money, or is more fit, those guys know that they're no longer going to be worth shit.
And to all the women in the audience who believe they found a good man, I applaud you. Because you've opened your eyes way earlier than most girls do. Now I know this is only high school, and your relationship may feel like it'll last forever, but more often than not, it'll just end up being another life endeavor. However, you have to understand that each relationship brings you closer to the real thing. And I know you don't want to hear that, but just listen to what I'm saying. Don't worry. Someday in the future, you'll be walking down the aisle in that white dress. But that man you're marrying will be your prince because you knew how to react when he treated you like a princess.
We're about to blow up this poetry rumble with some crucial information. Maybe today, while we're still young, it seems like nice guys are in return to damnation. But give it 10 years, when the bad boyfriend all you girls love cheated on you more times than you can count. And in those 10 years when that bad boy has a dry bank account. It's the nice guys that don't finish last. It's the bad boy that just got passed by us. The guy that never wanted to fight across. It's in 10 years that all the girls realize the nice guy they wanted was there the whole time. The ones they thought weren't worth a penny turned out to be a dime. And when you try to tell us about how a bad boy led you astray, just because we're the nice guys doesn't mean we have to even give you the time of day.
But today, nice guys like us aren't going to change just for you. Because this is only high school, so we'll continue to do what we do.
Listening attentively on the edge of my seat, filled with wonder from my head to my feet.
What was the point? I would challenge my mother, my immature mind wondering why God would want us to worship in such a dry, boring way.
I opened my heart, made some space, and what came in was amazing grace.
We would chant hymns that reminded me of some sort of brainwashed cult, and I felt myself diverging farther and farther away from my faith.
Knock, St. Dominic, Lourdes, and Fatima, my faith grew stronger considering miracles, otherwise enigmas.
My parents' divorce exacerbated it because now I was between two polar opposites. Between the Union and Confederacy, sun and moon, yin and yang. I was the gray area where black and white merged.
My family helped me along the way, a push, shove, and a nudge, and I not go astray.
I was frightened by stories of scandal within the church. Long story short, this began my period of defiance towards Catholicism.
And more families still supported this end. Aunt's uncles and grandparents gave me advice to help me understand.
The communion bread now tasted sour and stale to me, the songs dreary and melancholy, and I dreaded 9 a.m. Sunday Mass with a passion.
My mom turned into Christian radio, and I received the Eucharist believing that was the only way to go.
My mother's pleas were no match for my 12-year-old stubbornness, combined with my fear of corrupt clergies and priests with sick fantasies.
I pursued church doctrine with eagerness to say the least. I even chatted with ecclesiasticals at our youth groups, pasta and a priest.
I was almost a self-proclaimed atheist until the final catalyst presented itself to me and turned my dislike into hatred.
While I practically became a school evangelist searching for new souls that I could enlist.
What single thing can have such a paramount effect on an adolescent class? Social anxiety, of course.
But ever since then, for me, no fear, no frown, for who can get me when my God is around?
My shy demeanor and inability to make friends turned Sunday school into my own personal hell.
And I had my sins, my lapses short, but my God forgave me forevermore.
And when my confirmation day finally came, I remember labeling it the
best day ever.
Years passed, and gradually my family's church attendance dwindled, much to my delight.
I grew closer and closer to Christ the Son, and Mass became something I considered fun.
But sitting in AP Psych sophomore year and reading the words, going to a religious event weekly can decrease your risk of depression, made me realize that maybe being cynical and dismissing faith wasn't helping me.
And God helped me when just taking a test or even in a sports game, just to do my best.
Maybe I was just influenced by all the negative stereotypes. The prude, Bible-toting nerdy girl, or the homophobic old man, or the radical racist redneck.
And the Spirit helped me understand the things that we teens just can't comprehend.
And what I didn't realize when I was younger was that following your religion doesn't mean you're a slave, blindly conforming to a dogma.
I know to some of you this sounds far-fetched, but on our hearts these truths rest.
So it wasn't until recently that Catholicism became part of my life again, when I met someone who suggested that we go to church together.
It makes love come easy but not feel cheap, and hope easy peasy and not hard to keep.
Gradually, I found that many of my friends went to the same church, and I actually began to look forward to Sunday night.
And what was really cool by my persuasion was our church's little ROTC invasion.
I am much happier now, and I think our society is so scarred from religious conflict that we glorify rebelling religion and disregarding morals.
And not to change the subject, but it's kind of neat. The works and deeds, the paraclete.
But I promise you that I do not carry a Bible around, nor do I insist that Miley Cyrus is the spawn of Satan.
Well, I view to the heavens and stare at the sky to consider the one who made them, powerful and high.
We are human and we are imperfect, and God knows that.
And whenever we encounter something bad, prayer will solve any problem we have.
And when times get tough, we are no longer afraid to ask a higher power for a little wise advice.
And why ever feel upset or at all mad when Jesus gave up all that he had?
I think that we need something to grasp during the course of our lives, something that gets us out of bed each morning and lets us know we are not alone.
And why ever feel alone or at a loss when Jesus already died for us on the cross?
Following our faith gives us hope that maybe, just maybe, there are still good people in this world.
But best of all, to be forgotten never, is that someday we'll join him at last, forever and ever.
My poem's called I Don't Like. Sitting in my chair, laying poetry began to bore me. Pandora is bumping. What's this I hear? Words of Chief Keef started flowing in my ear. Looked back at my list. A thought began to strike. Inspired by a song. This, that stuff I don't like. Road rage. That's that stuff I don't like. Teachers giving busy work. That's that stuff I don't like. When an apple looks like it's going to be good and then you bite into it and it's soft on the inside. That's that stuff I don't like. Kids timid to act themselves, afraid of what their peers will think of them. That's that stuff I don't like. The fact that my future is currently dependent upon a decimal, stressing until my forehead drips of blood attempting to maintain it. That's that stuff I don't like. Authority restricts decisions, such as gay marriage, simply because it doesn't corroborate with their personal sets of beliefs. That's that stuff I don't like. Kids sitting behind their keyboard that doubles as a shield, belittling others. Social media has warped into a savage jungle where the vigorous animals we call kids gang up and the weak are left to fend for themselves. It doesn't seem to bother them that they are slowly melting away the self-confident, bold-minded individuals. That's that stuff I don't like. People spread slander about others because they don't have enough going on in their own lives. Harmful rumors being tossed as if they are a ball of flames too hot to contain in your mouth. You walk in the front doors of the building that's supposed to be your learning facility, and all you can see is fire. How is anyone supposed to succeed or simply be happy if they're too busy attempting to extinguish the inferno, one cup of water at a time? Bang, bang.
Mine's called Seeing Red. We wake up every morning because they tell us to. Throwing on clothes they see as proper. Listening to the teachers they see fit to fill our minds each and every day. But what I want to know might not be what you consider important. See, they feed all these feeble minds with just another human being's perception of what knowledge is. See, I'm not saying I'm against knowledge, though. It's the only thing I truly crave, and the only thing they can never take from me. And in the end, when we're all buried beneath her, that's when they'll see how equal we all really are. But our minds are like sponges, soaking up every ounce. And sometimes you can't drain all the dirt and grime away. It clings to us because it's all around. But I refuse to soak up everything he or she considers worthwhile. Because who are they to say what's right and wrong? Then who are you to say what is as well? So don't believe everything you read, for it could be written by little old me, a girl whose opinion outstretches its work, but acts as a claustrophobic thought, raging to break through the glass that they thought I couldn't see. I already follow your rules. Well, more do you want? I tell myself I'm free every morning, rising to the flag that claims it knows what freedom is. Reciting its verses like you thought I forgot. Oh, and they'll tell you, we're the lucky ones, they'll say. If we're so lucky, then why do I still see you all following down the same beaten path? The ones before us that claim was the yellow brick road? As we sit here and listen, sit here and read, day after day, all the shit they keep feeding me, wait, let me clean off my plate first, throwing half in the trash, because no, I don't trust you. Not you, and not you. And why should I? You've read all about our past. You know what liars look like. Don't you? Of course you do. They stare at you as though a fool that pours out their mouths. And yeah, maybe I'm just picky when it comes to my food. Or maybe just smarter than the ones who drink the Kool-Aid. when told it was cool. Stained lips for everyone to see. So when I tell you I look around and only see red, you'll really know what I mean. But go ahead, embrace that life they have laid out for you. Just don't come crying to me when you watch as time flies by you in a hurry. And he's not coming back. And that's when you'll be begging for it the most. The day you wake up, staring at the shell that contains you, displeased with it all. So when I tell you I'm not on the same beaten path, don't worry, because I'm fine. I made my path with these hands right here. And you can do it too. But it's hard and dirty, something most of you would never do.
Next up we have Paul Johnson. This is a really powerful one, y'all.
Okay, before I get started, I can give a little background. I came across this sociological theory a couple years ago, or months ago, or whatever, I don't know. It was the mask theory, which pretty much says that socially and mentally, we all wear a mask to cover who we truly are. And I was looking at theory when I was writing this poem at 3 a.m. the day before it was due. And I was inspired. So I guess here I begin. As we move through life, we wear many masks that hide our true faces, but yet do our myriad of masks dilute and distort the face we need. Do we truly become what we portray ourselves to be? I say yes, my fellows. I say yes. I knew of a boy who wore 3 masks. He was kind, loving, smart. He was afraid of his fellow children, and thus the first mask he wore had no mouth from which to speak. But as he grew older, he was appalled by his perceived idiocy and inferiority of the peers to himself, and the mask of silence came away. Switching from the mask of the mute to the mask of the arrogant intellectual, whose superior smirk was always snide and condescending. He made many enemies with this mask, was ridiculed and mocked. And this mask fell away not long after. But it was not replaced by a mute, it was replaced by something worse, an angry sociopath, whose loneliness had given way to madness, whose former weakness and arrogance was replaced by a sudden craving for the fear of those he hated, becoming what he was told never to be, a monster, who bared his fangs, snapped its jaw as it was close to. This mask was like a rabid dog. But even then, as his hatred dissipated and he moved on with the currents of life, that mask fell away. The masks were full of lugubrious, full of vanity, rage, despair, and loneliness, and when they fell away, he was not who he was before. The sweet boy who would help anyone who asked had been corrupted by the mask he wore. He was now a silent intellectual with a painted-on smile, whose barely hidden sadistic tendencies were occasionally revealed for his cynical and sardonic humor, whose mistrust of others garnered the suspicion and aversion of his peers. But soon, too, that faded away as well. And he changed again. When he finally received the acceptance he craved, he found friends who held him in as high regard as they did they. His family, which had remained broken and warring, finally found peace at last. As did that boy, who was almost a man. And finally he decided, no more deception, no more masks. I am who I am, nothing else. That boy realized that masks become part of him in their own small ways, but accepting himself as who he was, not what those masks meant him to be, was the secret to long-lost joy, and thus he became a man, wise man. How do I know the story of this boy? Why is my place to tell his tale? It's simply because I knew this boy well. He was me.
Hi, what's up? Before I begin, I would like to... Where's Angeloni at? He's right there? Alright, this song is, last time, this one went out to Commanded, but now this one's a little bit different. This one's going to go out to you Angeloni. It's about the Marine Corps. It's called Hardcore. The song it's a few years old, and I love it a lot. The eagle born to those who pledged their lives in sacred honor was smiled upon by God and freed from chains and iron collar. He is held aloft on unity and by history revered for preserving peace through strength his wings now reach across 200 years. But for each of those and 1 year more, God has smiled upon the core from the Barbary coast to the eastern stand, by sword, by gun, or by bare hand. So it's been and shall be weighed, though many are born, few are made. Faithful always they shall be weighed, dogs to lose when war is waged. This song is called Hardcore, for the Marine Corps. I am a Marine, on the beach, I'm a killing machine, with the need to bleed you when the light goes green. Best believe I'm in the zone to be, from my yin to my gang to my gang to Z. Put a grin on my chin, come to me, cause I'll win. I'm one of a kind and I'll bring death. To the place you're about to be, another river of blood or under my feet. Forged in the fire lit long ago, stand next to me, you'll never stand alone. I'm last to leave, but the first to go. Hardcore is the only way I know. I feed on the fear of the devil inside, and the enemy faces in my sights. I aim with a hand, shoot with a mind, I kill with a heart like Arctic ice. I am a devil dog, and I'm marching on. I am a warrior, and this is my song. I bask in the glow of the rising war, lay waste to the ground of the enemy's shore, wave to the blood spilled on the floor, and if another one stands, I'll kill some more. Got a bullet in the breech and a fire in me, like a cigarette thrown to gasoline. If death don't bring you fear, then that death ain't brought by no Marine. Come to the nightmare, come to me, deep down in the dark where the devil be, in the maw and the jaws and the razor teeth, where the brimstone burns and the angel weeps. Call to the gods if I cross your path and my silhouette hangs like a body bag. Hope is a moment now long past, the shadow of death is the one I cast. I am a soldier and I'm marching on. I am a warrior, this is my song. Hell has no demon, I won't overcome. I make the devil himself turn and run. Now I live lean, and I mean to inflict the grief. With the least of me still out of your reach, the killer machine's gonna do the deed until the river runs dry and the last breath leaves. Chin in the air with a head held high, I'll stand in the path of the enemy line. I feel no fear, no my pride. For God and country, I'll end your life. Thank you.
She loved it with all her heart and soul. Maybe tried to let you go. I knew that day as I cried when I brought you back your oversized t-shirts and jackets that I've been sleeping in for over 2 years, that this was the end. I cried through my 2-hour chemistry midterm exam. When my friend came up after the test and even mentioned your name, I burst into tears. And then I cried through my 2-hour math midterm exam. And in the car, and when I saw my dad when I got home from school, and as I ate dinner, and in the shower where no one could hear me and no one could see me, and I cried as I tried to fall asleep. Tried, because everything was so different. There's no longer going to be mutual butterflies between us. For me, fucking pterodactyls in my stomach. And no more being carried around, which I didn't like so much anyway. I was always afraid I was going to fall. It seemed so reasonable, convenient, and comfortable to fall back into a relationship with someone who has given me so many good memories, treated me respectfully, understood, loved me unconditionally, and made me truly happy. But I can't. I love you, but I'm letting go. Dad said one day in the car, you guys are still young, but one day you'll realize you can stand on your own 2 feet. But I missed you. I was going to sleep regretful and sad I barely ate because I knew no amount of food or ice cream could fill up the empty hole in my heart. I lost 10 pounds and buckets of tears, but you know what? We're 16 and 17. We each have a big life ahead of us. There are going to be so many new and exciting opportunities, smiles, laughs, and memories in our lives. It will take tears and lonely days, but it will all be all right. Someday, you will in fact charm and fall in love with a new girl. And some other girl will love you unconditionally. Some other girl will love Chinese food and ribs, won't be picky, won't have emotional breakdowns, but know exactly what you're thinking, what's wrong, and what presents to give you. Some other girl will be able to enjoy your hugs, kisses, and love. Some other girl will have an honest, caring, big heart, willing to do anything to make her happy man wrapped up in her arms. Someday, some other girl will make you so damn happy. And in the end, I just want you to be happy. Forgive and forget, they say. You forgave me for not being able to let go for the longest time. I forgave you for not holding on. Some of us think holding on makes us strong, but sometimes it is letting go. And now I see you seem to be happy again. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure that new girl can make you smile. And I know my brother can still make you laugh. He really likes hanging out with you. So I just soak in all this crazy, awesome hilarious of you two and your friends, because you know I roll my eyes sometimes because I don't want to even hear your name. I'm glad you still make my brother smile. Maybe my heart still races when I hear your truck rolling up my street to come get my brother. Maybe it pisses me off that you used to not be able to get you out of my head. You were in my thoughts, you were in my skin, you were in my veins. But I would never say, you complete me like you used to say, because you complete me is bullshit. You are a complete human being before I came into your life, and you will be a complete human being when I'm gone. But all of this has taught me a lot. You taught me that this body I walk around in every day is beautiful, and that I shouldn't be so afraid of everything. And my math teacher taught me that you shouldn't let one person be in control of your happiness. And I taught myself that young love can be rough. And when you said, I'm sorry so much, it definitely ruined its meaning. And my dad told me that I can, in fact, stand on my own 2 feet. And all the new people I've grown closer to now pointed out to me that sometimes the best things in life are free. But no one ever said the best things in life would last forever. Nothing lasts forever. Now, I think I'm finally happy again. You've caused me to open my eyes. Now I surround myself with people who make me laugh and smile, and at the same time, never make me angry or sad. Now, no one whistles back after I whistle. And I'm not holding anyone's hand to help pick me off the ground when I've laughed too hard, but that's okay. Because I'm strong, and life goes on. Thank you.
Be
It's a letter to her hypothetical daughter. So I wrote kind of a parallel. It's a letter to my hypothetical son. Totally unoriginal, but here I go. If I should have a son, I will teach him to walk steadfast with his shoulders back and his head held high. Not because I want his head up in the clouds, but because I want him to see all the beauty there is in this world. And I hope he'll be mighty of both sword and pen so he can spot the girl who's about to be crushed by the weight of everything she's trying to lift up so he can lend her his hand, his wrist, his time when she's writing outside of her margins and can't contain her thoughts. When other parents are teaching their sons to come riding in on a white horse, I will teach mine to raise the cavalry. Yeah. He will never mistake her for the damsel in distress. I'll make sure he knows to walk beside her. Baby, I'll tell him, don't be afraid to walk in the rain. Sometimes it takes being cold and wet and miserable before you let yourself be vulnerable enough to accept the warmth of hands and arms and hearts. I will take him to the beach and show him that no matter how many miles you walk along the shore, you can turn around and see the footprints you left behind. But no matter how many footprints you leave behind every night, the sand will wipe itself clean of your memories to make room for new ones. It is a blessing and a curse, but he will learn to treat the world like a sandbox, roll up his sleeves, get down on his knees, and savor the castles he builds before they slip through the spaces between his fingers. And one day he will meet heartbreak face to face, and it will punch him square in the jaw, didn't see it coming, leave him with a crooked smile. I will take him to karaoke so he learns that his beauty isn't in the line of his mouth, but what comes out of it. Yeah. Instead of bedtime stories, I will read him Greek mythology. He'll learn Hercules and Perseus and Icarus, but most importantly, I will tell him about Sisyphus because I want him to know that the worst punishment the gods could devise is what we go through every day of our lives. Every morning, we push our dreams up a hill of hope and optimism only to see them roll back down to our feet, but we keep trying. Son, keep trying, keep rolling, keep dreaming. We only wish upon stars when they're already falling, trying to capture them in their last moment of brilliance. But son, you will learn to light candles when all of the stars have fallen. All right, next up we have the beautiful Trudy Durgee. Hey guys. This one doesn't really have a title, so here we go. I have a lot of scars and stories to go with them. Stories nobody really wants to hear anymore. Stories I've told a million times. Yeah, when I was 2, I slipped on my tile floor and it scraped open my chin. I had to get 7 stitches. Do you want to see? They bundled me up in a blanket at the hospital. Told me I was a butterfly in its cocoon. They just had to patch me up first, and then I could fly again with my new wings. I ran out with outstretched arms, fingers spread wide, believing that I really was a butterfly, and they gave me wings so I could fly, so I could see my whole world sprawled out in front of me. To fly over that tile floor next time around, to avoid the stitches. I have a lot of scars. Scars I don't like sharing, or at least I say I don't, because I know I'd regret telling the story of how I sat in my shower, scratching at my arm until it bled, feeling like somehow everything would get better when I finished. But it didn't. The cuts still burned, the scabs still ached, and all I got was something new to lie about. And not a single thing fixed itself overnight like I thought it would. I have a lot of scars. Scars only a few people know about. Scars I don't show, knowing that if I did, they'd be ripped right open again. He called me a stuck-up bitch because I wouldn't do what he wanted, because I didn't exploit myself for his enjoyment. I don't regret my choice at all. I only regret feeling sorry for it. Since when was it my job to please anyone but myself, to show my skin like a case file for someone who I didn't trust with the evidence? 2 years meant nothing to him when I didn't cater to his every need. I am a human being with thoughts and feelings and emotions, not just some plaything you can use and throw away when you're done. I know how to stand on my own 2 scarred feet, the ones that are allergic to my Sperry's, the ones that have hurled me through life with open hands and wide eyes, with a heart 2 times the size I thought it would ever be. An acceptance only I can teach myself, a compassion that lives in my veins and pumps itself through my heart in a better life now that he's not in it. I have a lot of scars. Some heal, others don't. Some take the help of someone else, someone with warm hands and gentle eyes, someone that loves me and my scars, someone who knows that he'll have to work to get to know all of me, because some of it is not meant for others to see just yet. Maybe one day. I admit I am a mess, a tangle of pain, regret, and heartache, and insecurity, but slowly I'm learning to accept myself a little bit more each day, hate myself a little bit less each week, smile brighter, laugh harder, and stand taller. Or at least as tall as I can get myself to go, when I balance on my toes, pretending I can fly over everyone, spreading my wings and healing their scars, helping them accept themselves for who they are, instead of what someone else wants them to be. Just know that even if you're too shy to talk, too cynical to see the good in the little things, too insecure to see the light that radiates from your skin, that there's always someone willing to accept you. Someone to accept your scars, to trace them like a map across your flesh, tell you that it's okay to show them. Because without them, even though you'd still be you, you'd be so boring. We all have a lot of scars, and every one of them has a story I'd like to hear one day. Thank you.
All right, next up we have Quinn
I had asked for the lights to be on because, okay, now that my selfie game is on point, I'm Quinn. I got a haircut strategically yesterday, and I used the last of my PacSun gift card on this shirt. So, my poem is called Disconnect, and that is with a lowercase d and a period at the end of it. The following story is a tale of great sorrow and frustration. A tale about the split between friends who were once so close they were almost inseparable. A tale that's as personal to me as it probably is to you. This tale is the story of the split between my body and mind. From the first moments where life found its way into my lungs and the brightness of the world entered my eyes, my body and mind got along like old college chums. While my mind was still young, my body would make the majority of the decisions. My body would scream out, "Hey, I'm hungry." And my mind would say, "Yeah, me too." And together we would cry and babble until my loving parents would fill my stomach. My body would say, "Hey, I'm cold." And my mind would say, "Yeah, me too." And together we would bawl and thrash and scream until my parents wrapped me in a blanket. My body would say, "Hey, I'm pretty sure I just shit myself." My mind would say, "Yeah, we should probably do something about that." Together we would cry until my diaper was changed, and so this continued day in and day out. As time went on, my mind too began to make decisions. Through the eyes of my body, my mind looked up to my parents and decided that they were superheroes, sent to the earth to make me strong and protect me from evil. My body couldn't agree more, and soon I was mimicking their every action, their every thought, their every sentence. While I was in school, my mind sucked up every bit of knowledge it could, taking my body along for the ride as I scribbled letters to form words and sentences. As my eyes scanned each page as if it contained a secret treasure that could only be uncovered by flipping the next page. Every word, every thought, every action, unified, synchronized, harmonized. And maybe my thoughts weren't right. Maybe my logic wasn't sound. Maybe, just maybe, every single idea that popped into my head and every single step I took was wrong and naive and callow, but to me, none of that mattered. I was whole. But as time wore on, these old friends drifted apart, and the more they split, the more apparent their separation became to me. Tearing in two, at first it seemed harmless enough. An uncomfortable thought quietly pushed down and locked away. A nervous stomach, a runaway heartbeat, shrugged off or circumstantially justified, fading away like the imprint of a bright light on the eyes. But the feelings became more real, the thoughts more intense. My mind would ride the same train of thought, never disembarking, never alighting on a destination that would soothe my body, calm the shaking, the quaking, the fear, the self-doubt. In my mind, my fears became real, my inadequacies as bright as the sun.
and the cries of my body are washed out in a sea of thought, of endless thought that has the power to constrict my chest, to slicken my hands, to quicken my heart, to buckle my knees. And where my mind would go, my body could not follow, yet it is dragged the whole way, scraped, bruised, battered, bleeding, pleading for my mind to stop, to just stop thinking. And here I stand, not one, but two halves of a whole, a divided house that cannot stand on its own accord, one half pitched against the other.
But life is still unpredictable, and life is still really hard. You have so many choices and only so many chances, and I'm trying so hard not to screw it up. But I'm still only just a kid, and when people ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? All I can think of is happy, or at the very least rich. I'll settle for one or the other, really. Because in the society we live in, beautiful is not an option for me, not really. I'm not tall enough, and I'm not thin enough, and hell, maybe I'm not smart enough, but at this point, I don't really care. Because while I don't have my future planned out, I know what I'm good at, and I know what I stand for. And I know I have the world in my hands, and I will fight for it if I have to. I will sharpen my teeth, and I will sharpen my nails, and I will bare my teeth, and I will kick and curse and scream with all the fury I have in me. Because there is no way I'm going down without a fight. Because there is no way I will just lay down and give up. I mean, I came into this world screaming and covered in someone else's blood, and that's how I'll go out. Yeah. So damn it, I'll be an author if I want to. I'll be a model, a teacher, a singer, hell, even a stripper, a mafia leader. And there isn't a thing you can do to stop me, because only I know me, and only I can decide for me. And I love my mother with all my heart, but not even she can tell me what to be. Because she will never have to live through me, only I can be me. And only I will truly have to suffer the consequences of my own actions. And just know that you and only you can live through you. So do what you want and say what you need to, because life is long. And when the blood of your veins returns to the sea and the dust of your bones returns to the ground, I just hope you didn't spend the time before suffering, thinking about all the things you could have done and all the things you could have been. Thank you.
My poem is called Love Is. Some people say, I don't know what love is. They look at me and roll their eyes. Please, you're only kids. But let me tell you one thing. There is no love king. There is no law that says how old you have to be to fall in love. There is no such thing. So let me tell you what love is. Love is surprising. Love is reviving. Love is staying up late to talk to each other all night. Love is being around crowds of people, but only one is in sight. Love is trusting each other. Love is not wanting to be with another. Love is saying, you're beautiful, no matter how scared you are. Love is picking her up in your used car. Love is belting out the song lyrics together with the windows down. Love is the unprescribed cure. You can tell he loves her just by how he looks at her. He doesn't look at her eyes, he stares into her soul. Love is hearing, I can't, and telling her she can. Love is two big brown eyes and tan skin. Occasionally, love has an imperfection on his chin. Love knows exactly what to say. Love always manages to make me smile, somehow, someway. Sorry. Love isn't an age. Love isn't a stage. Love lasts. Love doesn't fade. Love isn't forced, it's made. Love isn't a sin, love is him. So don't tell me I don't know what love is when the only thing you two share are kids.
many teens yearn for their turn to finally leave their dreaded school and instead go to the college of their dreams. And who can blame them? For they aim for knowledge and a promising future, something that I too hope for. Though I, unlike many, simply cannot cope with the thought of leaving what I call home, for I get sore just at the thought of closing the door of my dwelling, for it contains something of great importance to me, which be my beloved family. If you may question if I suffer from regression, to which I would state, with the most delighted expression, that no, I do not. I merely love my parents most dearly, for they are clearly outstanding and not very demanding, and we rarely have any sort of misunderstanding. In fact, they are so understanding that any sort of dispute is deemed as rare as walking on air, for they have raised me with tender loving care. With this sort of relation, it's no revelation that in the end I prefer to attend a nearby university, since my goodbye will be a far cry from sending me across its fascination. For it will cause its great alienation instead of elation, and I, for one, would not want some isolation to ruin our close cooperation. As some should surely see, some simple separation between my parents and me could possibly lead to some great anxiety, for we truly are a connected bunch who simply seek some serenity in this world of vast uncertainty.
Hi, my name is Rusty, and my poem is entitled The Tapestry. A while ago in the 5th grade, when I was sitting in computer class, all my friends were talking about this cool new camp they were going to, and they turned to me to ask, "Rusty, you're going too, right?" Now I sat and thought to myself, my mom barely lets me drink soda on a school night. How am I going to convince her to let me travel without her out of state to a sleepaway camp in Tennessee? So I slowly let that dream fade away. It could never be. Now a couple of weeks went by and I was sitting at home on the couch when my mom yells in from the other room, "Rusty, you're going to camp. You want to be in your cabin." Now as you can imagine, my little 11-year-old self started going kind of crazy because I thought that maybe this would be my best summer yet. So, once July came around, I arrived at camp, bags in hand, laid down on my cabin bunk, not at all mentally prepared for how this place functioned, this microcosm, this little tiny town. Because you see, Longview Ranch is a Christian camp, and it taught my already young believing soul how to strengthen my relationship with the Lord now and forevermore. It solidified in my mind that the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Want meaning lack. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. I shall have no other earthly desire because the Lord is with me wherever I go. He fulfills me, He completes me, He answers all of my prayers, but a lot of times His answer is no. Because the Lord has a plan for my life, and He's not going to let me get in the way of my own future. Now, right now, I have no idea what the Lord has in store. Yes, at times that can be frightful, but what I grasp onto is the fact that He has a plan. You see, my life is like a great big tapestry. Right now, I'm so up close, I'm so caught up in the moment, that I don't always understand, what is that, who are you, and why is this a part of my life? But once it's all said and done, I'll be able to step back and say, wow, what a beautiful tapestry that the Lord has designed for me. Now, a lot of people say where you invest your love, you invest your life. And nothing means more to me than spending my life serving the Lord that I love. But I'm so thankful that the Lord's love for me is nothing like my love for Him. You see, my love is flawed. It wavers. It is imperfect. But you see, the Lord's love for me is unconditional. It is everlasting. The Lord's love for me is like the ocean's waves, and I am the shore. He drowns me in it, constantly beating me with His love. No matter what I could say, no matter what I could do, no matter what I could think, He will always have more love for me. He will forever fill me to the brink. Now, it's essential to understand that the Lord works in strange ways. Sometimes He shows His love for us through a mysterious haze. I'm sure if you're a Christian, you've heard the saying, "Don't worry, the Lord will never give you more than you can handle." Now, as nice and self-empowering as that may sound, I believe it's one of the most inaccurate sayings a Christian could have found. Because the Lord will always give you more than you can handle. He wants us to realize, holy crap, I can't do this by myself. So then we bring it back to Him and say, Lord, guide me through this, take this from me, so that one day I again might see. And that is why bad things happen to good people. That is why sometimes the most kind hearts and caring souls encounter the worst evil. Through our struggles and our hardships, He is testing our faith so that one day we may be mature and complete, lacking nothing, so that to him we can relate. What his scriptures say are true. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, for I have overcome the world. Now, I don't know about you, but for me that really hits home, because no matter what I'm struggling through, the Lord is by my side, helping me through what I must do. Now, if you ever feel like you'll just never hit the mark, join the club. We're always open. A church isn't a museum for good people, it's a hospital for the broken. Remember that he came to this earth for you. He preached and taught for you. He was mocked, beaten, and nailed to the cross for you. And that 3 days later, he rose again, conquering sin and death for you. Remember that the only sin he can defeat is a defeated sin itself. He loves for you, he cares you, and he will never leave you on the shelf. So as I drove away from camp after all the sad goodbyes, to me the fact that I'd soon be back was not at all a big surprise. 5 times I've been back since, with a 6th year going strong. Been a counselor for 2, because I feel like I belong. I teach kids what really matters, that they're loved by so much more than this world could ever offer, that we're not just a random happening, that there is a divine author. Thank you.
My phone doesn't really have a name, so
When I was younger, I used to sit around and think about what it takes to have a good life and how I can make it big. Looking around at the culture that surrounded me, I thought I wanted to become rich. A plan that seemed so surefire and an idea which came to manifest my mind until there came a time when I discovered the one thing I'd always wondered. What was the point of this delusion of grandeur? Was it just to find a couple $100,000 grand, or was there a greater risk at stake? The search for happiness is how we define our fate. For me, it was all about money because money could buy things like boats, cars, houses, even small islands. I wanted my name on Forbes with the title CEO to be head of a company that everybody knows. But the one thing that never crossed my mind was how to reach these goals. Growing older, I realized that there was no guarantee, hard work and dedication, but it wasn't all up to me. There were other things that I never considered. I'd have to wait and see. We can plan all we want, but we don't know what the future is going to be. The world has a lot of tests for us to pass. Some even have the power to derail us from our paths. For something so powerful, you'd think the science would be a little more exact. A low score can keep you out of your dream college. What kind of idea is that? We are judged and confined to our scores on a daily basis. It's unjust and unfair, but we'll come to face it. Then there's another kind that's a little more subjective. The everyday things, the challenges that challenge the values that we live our lives with. Should we donate to charity, spend our time at church, temple, or mosque? When we're young, we're misguided, but when we grow up, we get lost. Whatever goals you have are yours for the taking, but they'll come at a cost. As I grew older, I realized that becoming rich might still be a goal, but I could be just as happy in another home, a small town locality in another zone. I could define my wants then, but now I don't know. The places we grow up make all our goals relative. Would we still want the same things if we grew up with a different perspective? We live in South Florida with this flashy car culture and flashy people, but would a factory worker from the Midwest call our material staple? The goals of kids growing up right outside of Boston might just be to find a fishing job to get lost in. To them, that is success, and it's what makes them happy. To us, that sounds mundane, underwhelming, and we feel bad for the guy who has to grow up without the chance of owning a Ferrari. If it's our experiences that come to define us, then why is making plans ahead of time a must? There are doctors out there who just want to paint. They never thought anything, but they make so much now, they can't complain. They never realized that money wasn't the end game. Then there are average farmers without lots of material, who've only had one wife and not 3 cereal, whose lives are filled with real love and joy that's surreal. Brilliant, dumb, rich or poor. We search the world looking for something to look for. Sometimes the answer is the easiest one, to live life as it passes and just see what comes. Maybe it's the smartest kid who doesn't want to go to Harvard, who decides he wants to watch football after all his hard work. A different school sounded like it fits him better, or he just liked the different color on the sweater. The point is that he made it all possible to choose, to define his path by leaving open multiple V's. We may never take advantage of the opportunities we set up, but it feels better than giving up those we overlooked in lust, of living every moment with total bliss. There are some things in life we're just meant to miss. Live life. There's meant to be some pain and strife. We all want different things, and most of us don't know where to begin. Just remember, we define our own wants and goals. There's nothing telling you have to be the next CEO. People too often live stressful lives that are distracted by lies that they tell themselves late at night. They tell themselves they have to fight for a better job or more money. But is it right? The idea is that people are too often consumed that they lose sight of what's really important, a notion that not all of us grow up with. Once we do all we can to become successful, the type of success we want is ours to choose. Some people might want to paint instead of becoming an executive. Making less money and having less things doesn't mean you lose, as long as you're happy.
Hi. I'm nervous. Okay. You got this. So snap it up for Lori G. Thank you. Background about my story, or my poem. Most of you guys wrote this the night before. I wrote it the morning it was due. So bear with me. I have a secret so deep, so dark that it trashes my soul and eats at my heart. This secret has kept me awake for countless nights and rendered me useless. This secret was something that I was willing to take to my very grave, yet too afraid to. This secret is my deepest fear and my one-true drive. This secret is one that I'm so afraid of that is why the reason I spent so many countless years at night that even the ocean is put to shame. My fear, what I fear worse than any person's monster face, that is darker than night, it makes me more fragile than the finest piece of glass, is being forgotten. Being forgotten? Being forgotten. What a silly fear. This fear was the reason that when I found out that my grandma's whole left side was paralyzed and she did not remember me, that I went into a comatose state, that I passed out and I had to be sedated. The woman that I spoke my first words to, Mama Tetea, may not remember me. It's also the very reason that I collapsed to the floor when I walked into that hospital room and then she whispered my nickname, that cuckoo. Ever since then, the fear has become compounding and mind-numbing because my father could forget me for the first 5 and my mother for the first 10, then who cannot? Imagine being forgotten to the point that when you die alone in your bed, that your corpse is not discovered until you are rotten and decayed, left to look like an artist's angry work on a plain canvas. Yet, this fear is also my one-true drive. It's why I'm so determined to get over my stage fright. Because, you see, because sitting in the back of the room like an empty shadow will just give more life to my fear. Yes, this is my secret, and this is my fear. Wrong. You see, since I have spoken and shared these words with you, it is no longer a secret. And since you have listened to me, I will not be forgotten, because at least one of you will remember the girl that wrote the poem of the night, not the night, the day it was due, and with the weird sound effects of the mic. So thank you. Thank you for setting me free and solving my irrational fear.
You took her from me that one April day. I hoped her treatment would cause delay. I hoped her last ounce of strength would break through, but no cancer, nothing could stop you.
in your pursuit to kill my mother. I hate you more than I hate her doctors, who failed as proctors in making sure that you would never return. They didn't have one concern. They thought you would never come back, but you came back with a plan of attack in your pursuit to kill my mother. I hate what you do, taking people's lives that don't belong to you. Hundreds of innocent people lose the battle every day. Many of them are children, by the way. Children who will never grow old, people's stories will remain untold, all because of you, cancer. The cancer, one day, your power will be yanked away. You will no longer be a threat. That day isn't here, no, not yet. And when that day is here, trust me, it's near. I will dance on your grave in memory of those who we could not save. People's lives will resume as soon as they check out of their hospital room. Chemo no more, radiation no more. Cancer, you will lose this lengthy war.
Hold on, the card.
Okay.
Get that back.
It had been 5 years of me slouching over in an oversized t-shirt, tugging on my cargo pants when I decided to finally be honest with myself when I was 15 years old. Yes, Kingsley, I said, you are transgender. And yes, Kingsley, he said, that's not just a nickname anymore. You are the minority of the 1.6% of the American population that will attempt suicide. Half of your people will. It had been years of suffering, from hate crimes to bullying. Have you ever had to convince your parents to love you unconditionally? Gender policing and street harassment, treated like I was a murderer, with my victim in an open casket, as if my genitalia had any effect on them whatsoever, as if all of one sex is born looking all of one color, as if sex and gender had some sort of correlation, as if New Guinea women don't walk around topless in their own nation. Same people who 10 years ago were homophobic are the same people now, but they're transphobic. Don't worry. Discriminating is heroic. Great job breaking every social link of love and acceptance. Same people who tell me to ignore everything I've ever learned about myself are the same people who have never been misgendered. The people who tell me to be myself have never hated their own genitals. 20 years ago, you were the sexists disgusted by their protest of the 19th Amendment, but really no one can blame you, because it's easy for you to have an opinion on something you know nothing about. 50 years ago, you were the racist missing on the basis of the First Amendment that states us, as certain people with inalienable rights, the freedom to live and the freedom to express. You are simply a tool of the media, an inanimate object that lacks human empathy. In truth, you will only help to build Orwell's telescreens with your hard-edged hammer, your nail-like fingers, and your systematic oppression of the people.
My poem is called Hallway Rage. Walking in the hallway is like driving down a street. It seems like the majority of students here are reckless drivers. There's a certain pace or speed limit that's expected of a student walking to a classroom. It's a moderate speed. Going too slow or too fast causes some problems, mainly frustration. Going too slow causes others to have to get around you, cut you off, and then to make up for that time wasted, and yes, with only 5 minutes, those valuable seconds were wasted. To make up for that time, they have to speed, swerving and weaving through and past students to avoid a ticket, a late pass. And I have a question. Where is the sign-up sheet for no texting and walking? Because I feel a lot of students need the pledge to never text and walk in our busy hallways. It causes some problems, mainly frustration. I have hallway rage. Yes, I do. And I know others do too, because they're through with dealing with people stopping in the middle of the hallway to hug their friends. Do you know what happens if a car hugs another car? A crash
Just pull over and go to the side and hug there. You won't get the hate stares from people like me who have hallway rage. And I'm not even going to talk about the traffic near the stairs. I don't even know what to say about that, except it causes more problems and frustrations. Oh, and let's not scream when there's thunder or lightning or a strong gust of wind. I know you were caught off guard. Yes, we understand that. We can tolerate that. But after every lightning bolt, this causes problems, maybe frustration. Yes, I know, I'll admit I do the majority of these things every now and then. We all do. And yes, I know sometimes these actions are hard to quit. I'm probably going to text and walk out of here out of habit, but I'll try not to. Because the hallway rage phenomenon is growing stronger and stronger every day. Another hallway walker gives into hallway rage. This epidemic can only be stopped if the problems in the hallway are no longer there to trigger frustration that overcomes hallway walkers every day. Let's end hallway rage. Thank you.
Next up, we have the beautiful Natalia Carrasco. Natalia, my poem is called Finding Path. So I know what you're thinking. Hey, that's Natalia. I knew you when you were cool, when all you cared about were boys, drugs, and skipping school. I knew you when you didn't even know who you really were, jumping from group to group, trying to find satisfaction, which soon you outgrew. Well, let's get something straightened out here and now. I didn't outgrow it. I just figured out how to feel satisfaction and how to feel complete. I found true love, one that digs down deep. Inside of my soul, and yours too, we all long for something more than just what we've been through. The lies that were sold by society, they offer temporary happiness, so why do we all end up in permanent depravity? So what are your goals, and what are your ambitions? To many guys in my high school, they're on the road to prisons, and this is where it starts. They're here breaking hearts and tallying the amount they can get, but what's gonna happen when they get a girl pregnant? But that's just high school. What about when they enter adulthood? Men who leave their wives and their children behind, how can their heart be so blind? What can heal and restore our lives? The answer is simple. It's just a matter of opening our minds. Trust me, I've been there. I partied and I drank. I thought I was having fun, but let's be real, I just looked like a skank.
But no, I just know where I am. Okay. But hey, I was cool. I ended up crying because guys treat me like a fool. And the guys in society don't even get me started. I look back now and I flinch in fear. It truly disgusts me, the danger I was near to ruining my life until he stepped in. Who is he, you may ask? Well, I will go into it. Just someone greater than this world. After all, he created it. But I know we don't really care. We like the stuff. To give it all up, it's just not fair. Well, I'll tell you this, it wasn't easy. Losing friends and starting over. But I know that the plans he has for my life are worth more than some hangover. Before I leave, I'll leave you with this. When's the last time that those things you live for took nails in their wrists? When's the last time money or sex forgave you? Or how about when your boyfriend set you free from all you were enslaved to? Or how about when someone died so that you could be made new? Or when the world promised satisfaction and actually came through?
Thinking it was going to be the best time ever. It was a party, you see, adults and drinks. They were supposed to watch me. My mom was only gone for several minutes. All she wanted was someone to make sure her daughter didn't go over her limits. But there I was, drowning at the bottom of the pool floor. Whether it was the mother's intuition or something more, she felt an uneasiness, worry, concern deep in her core.
She hurried to the pool and opened the gate. There she saw me thinking it might be too late. But she had quick thinking and fast reflexes. Nothing else mattered because all she was thinking about was her only daughter who might not wake from unconsciousness. These are one of the many incidents in my life where my mom saved me. Growing up in a small town in Tennessee, money did not come on a platter nor grew on trees. Divorced and hard-working mother with many stepfathers, bashing, alcohol, bruises, and cuts, it's no wonder that when love knocked on her door, she decided it's best not to bother. See, you can forgive, but you can never forget. So many years passed full of resentment and regret, failed relationships, rejection from every crevice and crack of life that opened her way, thinking she was ugly, obese, and won't marry one day. Her family saying she was worthless. Honey, you'll never be a somebody. People telling her she would never be a good enough wife or mother. Boy, were they wrong, because she has 2 kids who absolutely love her. She was determined. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me was her anthem. She screeched out her curdling cry, yelling, I am good enough. I am good enough. And she is good enough. The days I was being stubborn and indignant, feeling really malignant and completely ignorant, she was there to save me. And the days I wanted to slit my wrist and sink into a tenebrous and depressing abyss, she was there to save me. And when I wanted to give up and lose all hope, like a damaged boat that's trying to stay afloat, she was there to save me. Of course, she isn't perfect. Who here in this room is? But I know she cares and tries her hardest because she isn't one who likes to disappoint. She strives for the best until she reaches the top of her breaking point. When I don't feel like trying or want to persevere, she says, Mika, suck it up and put on your headgear, because she knows what's best for me. If I don't thank him enough, thank you, God, for giving me the best one that could be. I don't want this poem to be a tribute to only my mother, but to all moms who have sacrificed and have shed sweat and tears for their children. We all thank you as many times as a million. Because the cure to destruction is love, and if we all care and love, we can rise above. So thank you, Mom, for all you have done. You're one of the most amazing and most inspirational women I have ever met in my life. And for those who disagree, the exit is to your left and to your right, so you can leave.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm gonna go home and like hug my mom for like 5 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Alright, are we loud enough?
Let's talk about it.
Enunciate. Okay, so we wrote a poem together.
Yes.
Just coming in, please find a seat anywhere. I don't care anymore. Okay, let's go. Life is a constant state of confusion. Literally? Literally. In 9th grade, I thought I had it all figured out. Go to school, graduate, get a job, settle down. 2.5 children and a white picket fence. I saw my life through a lens I inherited from my parents.
In 9th grade, I wished to be a ball of clay, to thrust myself into the hands of my peers and be shaped, molded into the resemblance of someone who spoken a few less syllables and had a few more friends, so that when the transformation was complete, my whitewashed surface would blend in better with the backdrop of the American dream. I viewed my life through a telescope, my destination separated from me by light years of aspirations that were not my own. It is difficult to know who you are when you've never had to search for answers beyond your textbook. In 10th grade, I found myself to be a scale. Happiness in one hand, success in the other. My arms would sway as the people around me weighed in their own opinions. Looking back now, I do not see why it had to be a choice.
In 10th grade, I measured myself in letters and numbers. Letters floating on pieces of paper, numbers floating on computer screens, my body floating through school hallways, my body floating from desk to desk. Took my first calc class that year. But I soon found out that integration is something immigrants are already all too familiar with. My hopes and aspirations derivative, and when I tried to figure it all out, it just didn't add up. I grew up
in a store.
A restaurant. Taking orders was part of the job. In 11th grade, I took my first art class. I began to draw, I began to create. I drew still lifes and landscapes, portraits of other people, but never portraits of myself. I spent hours working on other people's faces, fixing his nose or redrawing her lips, but I could not face the thought of having to fix my own flaws, of having to look at myself for too long.
In 11th grade, I fell in love, hard. I did not see it coming but we were as intimate as the night sky and its stars. She was brilliant, and I was void. She shone into me, enlightened me, and took me in when no one else would. Her name was Educare, Latin meaning to learn. Education, you have many faces, and you come in many forms. We may not always have the best relationship, but the nights we spent together always leave me wanting more.
Senior year is the latest chapter in my unfinished manuscript. More often than not, I find myself plagued with writer's block. My story has more plot holes than the Twilight series. I lose myself dancing to music only I can hear, but dancing alone has taught me how to stand on my own 2 feet, to never apologize for the way I trip through life, to take pride in these blistered toes because damn, I wouldn't have wanted to walk any other path.
Senior year found me standing still, eyes wide, lights shining bright in my face. Just another reminder of how quickly tomorrows turn into todays, turn into yesterdays. I find myself staying up late at night because I'm tired of only living my dreams when I'm asleep. I no longer spend time staring at my reflection waiting for a glimpse of who I am to become. But I always keep those images with me, so no matter how far I wander, I can always look back and see how far I've come. Life may be a constant state of confusion, but luckily we have some advice to give you.
When your heart is broken, make art from the pieces.
Always embrace awkward moments.
The winners of a rigged game should not get to make the rules.
You don't have to live your life the way other people expect you to.
If no one is trying to kill you, you are not trying hard
enough. Time you enjoy wasting is never wasted.
Life isn't the process of finding yourself, it's the process of forming yourself. Metamorphosis, bitches! You everybody nailed me! Books are different from other possessions. They're more like friends.
Today means amen in every language.
But most importantly,
always remember,
never forget, back into my veins. The flow is pure, I feel its strength, I'm addicted. You're the long-awaited bite, grease dripping after weeks of fasting. You're the breath of air into the dying, needing to keep hope alive. You're the constant reminder of endless possibility. You're what I have left, and if you can't be, what will this world be? Their bodies slouch into the desk. Eyes roll as they melt down into the ground. As a painter monk used his own strokes to portray their confusion with complete disillusion, they whine, "Miss! Miss! Can't you just not love us so hard?" They don't know that in 10 years, all they'll want is love this hard. Before I can answer, they yell, "Man, just give me that A. I took my time to come to this class, sit in this chair, and stare at your jaded face. My lips are no more. Bound together by their audacious superglue, I want to scream, you tell me to applaud showing up? To raise a glass in honor of you waking up? If you anticipate admiration, you'll be sadly mistaken. To know it's an expectation. Your free opportunity for accessible information, your generation spits on it. But the realization is what we do as a civilization suddenly peels away my glue and I can speak. Dear world, why are you asking them to be everywhere at once? To live in someone else's distant computer screen through Facebook. To live as a constant wit as a part of this Twittersphere, #I don't care. To live as Teen Mom, wanting to be on Teen Mom. To live as LeBron James on NBA 2K. To live as the incorruptible angel of morality that is their parents' spawn while simultaneously sexting scandalous pics with those very phones those parents pay for. To live as the girlfriend of their boyfriend or the boyfriend of their girlfriend or the girlfriend of their girlfriend or the boyfriend of their boyfriend, no judgment. How can I possibly expect them to be gracious, to live in the present, to know who they are and then be who they are in the now? How can we engage the unengaged in Shakespearean gibberish when it don't have a beat and they can't twerk to it? This is an age of setting them up to fail and blaming them when they do. Not during the play. I hope you enjoyed and will employ this lesson in theater etiquette.
But I know how you feel, and you'll know in a second. My poem is entitled Mom. I know that my mom is not alive, but does that mean that she is not still here? In my mentally younger years, the church and God were in no way, shape, or form in my mind. But, however, when he was taken from me by him on that October day, he gave me a challenge that shut my mind out from everything, except for my mother and a single question. Why? My father had always told me that God would never face me with something that I couldn't handle, but I couldn't believe him because ever since I was 6, just kidding, 5, she took care of me, and 2 days out of every 14 I saw him, but no matter how much I wanted to fight it, there was no denying that Father was right. At first, mad, I could not see the truth, the light that Dad could see that I could not, shut out from my eyes by the binding spell which had locked me in the hell of my own mind. With all my might, I could not set free. I could not break free until I saw what God wanted me to see. This dark truth was able to evade contemplation in the depths of mental confrontation between logic and reasoning, trying to decipher the motive of God, only to discover that it was not quite odd. His binding spell in my cognition was relinquished upon realizing that the dark truth of Mother's departure was hidden in my nightmares. The harbinger of death did it so that I would become aware that under my mother's care I was trapped. Trapped in the overbearing love of she who raised me with her own 2 hands, but Mother unintentionally concealed my young feeble mind from the fact that life is rough and you have to be tough to get through it. Without her physical presence, I grew fast. While only a year and a half passed, my mind aged by 10 under the guidance of my father and he who allowed her to pass. The struggle that he knew I could overcome with the love of father and son. Invisible to all eyes, but present in mind, my mother acts as my guiding light through the tunnels and caverns of life, always looking over my shoulder as an angel that gets no older. I know that my mother is not alive, but I also know that she is still here in my heart.
Hey guys. Hey Marcus. Wow, it's really bright up here. Good thing, so I don't get nervous from looking at all of you. Wow, there's a lot of you. Okay, so I performed this in class to a bunch of appraisal, so much that Mr. Ruffalo was very nice to invite me to perform this again. And as an added surprise, I thought I could use a couple tweaks, so I think you all will get a very good performance out of this. My poem, oh, I'm sorry, applause, if you want, I My poem is entitled The Song of Stars. Welcome to the universe. This is the Song of Stars, the waltz of dazzling skies that has arced across the night sky for billions of years, careening across the void in a stunning display. For eons, this dance of suns, planets, and celestial wonders that has been largely neglected, which is completely odd for something of such perfection. But life, its intended audience, was programmed to be self-centered about its own survival rather than a red giant in its death throes. But one day, the exception arrived. Creatures with enough of a brain capacity for wonder via the prefrontal cortex changed everything and tore the natural order asunder. They looked up. We now know that these ancestors of ours were the progenitors of some greater thought, as our fascination for the stellar dances inscribed across the ages. Egyptians saw their eternal afterlife in the heavens, the Greeks their pantheon amongst the planets, and Europe saw divine prophecies in the luminous comets that passed Earth. All this recorded on stone, papyrus, wood, and bamboo for as long as we could put down the words to describe it. Yes, we are the freaks, the ones who broke the natural order and stopped to observe the majesty of the universe. As time advanced, we never let it go, but only got more curious as we learned more, to the point where it became unbearable to remain on a lonely island in space. On April 12, 1961, Yuri Gagarin was catapulted into the void aboard a missile, of all things, as our first emissary to the stars. As he passed above our pale blue marble into the dark shadow of our Earth,
he saw an ocean of stars just through his 3-inch diameter window, our first invitation to the stellar waltz. He was filled with a wonder he would bring back to Earth, so infectious that it would catapult the human race to a new pedestal in our evolution. Our insatiable curiosity has hence led us to startling revelations of the grandest and most interesting scale. 90%, I'm sure of which you've never heard of. Notable among them is the neutron star, a peculiar yet temperamental star that has furiously collapsed on itself to be only the size of Brooklyn, 6 miles across, with a glowing crust of iron. Though small it may be compared to other stars, it's so dense that a teaspoon of it would weigh 1 billion tons. When they begin to spin as fast as 30 times a second, they release a stream of electrons that glow with a brilliant light, seen from Earth as an interstellar lighthouse that I only wish I could show you from here. Or perhaps nebulae suit your fancy, effervescent clouds of neon hues of every kind, greens, reds, blues, and beautiful electric blues. The ghosts of the elder stars that now watch over the new stars that grow in the clouds, created by titanic cataclysms of epic proportions, a final masterpiece of the stars that made them. And so, as we struggle to process the plethora of the rest of the elegant void, I find it hard to exert my full passion for the innumerable wonders still left for me to tell. But I'm comforted by looking around me every day and seeing those who stand to carry us all up there join the grand dance, with our own music having now joined the orchestra of the universe, of 8.4 million pounds of thrust coming out of the back of a Saturn V, or the crackling of shuttle's engines I'm sure you've all heard. Yes, we are the freaks who join in this concert far larger than we can even comprehend. And as Randall Munroe said, the universe is probably littered with one-planet graves of cultures that made the sensible economic decision that there's no good reason to go to space, each discovered, studied, and remembered by the ones who made the irrational decision. Thus, being able to envision us all discovering and admiring the glittering, gleaming luminance of the infinite creation is a blessing that I must give my thanks for. This brings inspiration, this wonder, this awe. This is the song the stars sing to me every night.
Boots on the ground, politicians throw that term around, and I hate the sound, because I know what it means. It means that soldiers and Marines and sailors and F-18s, and let's face it, kids, just like you and me, are going to a place called overseas, where they'll lose limbs but gain PTSD if they're lucky, and don't get hit by an unfriendly or an IED. I'm sure you get why I'm annoyed when I tell you I have friends getting deployed into a place from which we're pulling out. So excuse my doubt when the politicians shout about how we're protecting American lives. And I despise the lies that they use to disguise the ugly truth. The truth is, we can't fix Afghanistan. The truth is, we can't control Iran. The truth is, we can't end Fort Syria's war. The truth is, we can't afford Israel anymore. The truth is hard to hear, but it's worse for those who've lost someone dear. The funny thing about a line in the sand is that it's not so much red as gray, since when the water sweeps it away, it's just redrawn somewhere up on shore. But I'm sure one day there will be no getting away. We'll be swept up again in the fickle affairs of men, and many will die as sacrifices to satisfy fate, that malicious mix of misery, love, and hate. So I must confess that I highly suggest that you learn geography, because when they say we're going to intervene, they don't mean we, they mean you and me.
My poem's called Quirks. You know, sometimes being a perfectionist sucks. I overanalyze, I think too much, I repeat my schedule in my head over and over and over again. It's hard for me to go with the flow, and I usually think of the worst situation possible before making any decision. It's hard for me to take risks or to get out of my comfort zone because I'm afraid of the failures that may lay on the other side. It takes me 2 hours to write a one-page paper because I change the words and ideas in my head about 50 times before I'm satisfied. Imagine how hard it was for me to write this poem. I forced myself to finish my 5 hours of homework at night so I don't have to worry about it in the morning. I forced myself to stay up and study for an extra 2 hours after an exhausting 3-hour practice. I usually hear, "Rachel, you care way too much," or "You study way too hard." I guess you could say I'm competitive, but mostly with myself. I set very high standards for myself and I get frustrated when I can't reach that bar. In my world, sleep is rare and stress is abundant. There was a time, not too long ago actually, where the stress consumed me and the tears drowned me. I felt like a prisoner inside my own head, searching for the answer to my own conviction. Would this be a life sentence? At times I would hear myself say, God, why did you make me this way? I felt that I was fighting a constant battle within myself, but in all actuality, I was just fighting with reality. This is who I am, this is who I was made to be. And once I figured that out, nothing was going to get in the way of me. I had to learn how to channel my stress and energy into positive thinking and motivation. I was determined to be as successful as possible in the classroom and on the volleyball court. I was finally satisfied with who I was, and I knew that I could accomplish anything I set my mind to. You know, not all of us fit that cookie-cutter mold of society. Not all of us get straight A's, have a perfect ACT score, or the fastest or strongest on our sports team. Whether you're that quiet kid in the corner of the classroom, or the class clown who always has something to say, whether you start on the left side of the court, or the left side of the bench, whether you're into band and drama, or math and science, you have something to offer. We all have quirks or qualities that make us different from one another, that make us special. Find out what those things are and show them off. Don't let anyone, not even that little voice inside your head, tell you you can't do something. Own who you are and don't ever doubt yourself. You know, sometimes being a perfectionist does suck. But it drives me to succeed, it drives me to believe, and in most circumstances, it is the strongest thing I have to offer.
There we go. My poem's called You. Okay, here we go. When I met you, I didn't know what to think. We became such good friends till the end. When we went out, we thought we could rule the world, till one day the world stopped, and it felt like everything just dropped. Depression let me fail to succeed because of the need for you. And you told me not to care, that I shouldn't share my love with you, that I was above it all, that I shouldn't hate you, that I probably shouldn't date you. But the best thing you told me was that I would find someone better, someone who would care and share and love me. But all I could think was, I didn't want someone better. I want you. I want you to care. I want you to share with me. I want you to love me. It was almost 2 years. What the hell happened? We started off so happy. But don't they all? And in the end, don't they all just fall? And I know it's crazy, but I remember when we used to talk about staying together forever. But guess what, guys? Fuck forever. Because it's painful to know that you're gone. It's painful to know that you don't care anymore. It's painful to realize that just after 3 days of splitting, you asked me if I was over you. As if I could even talk to you. After all I did for you, all the dinners and Christmas and those beautiful birthdays, I used to save every enormous essay you'd send me through text. I loved them so much. What girl wouldn't? But when I stopped getting those texts, I felt something was wrong. You seemed so unhappy. I knew you pretty well, but when I kept asking you what was wrong, you continued to lie to me. And I continued to cry for you. Why I wasted my time for you, I don't know. I was in love, but I was dumb to think it was ever gonna last. See, the thing with me was that I was so lost in love that when that other girl started reappearing in your life a little bit more than a friend should, I was kind of confused. I knew something was wrong, but being me, I let it go because I didn't know what was going on. And to this day, you still say nothing happened. But all I wanted to know was, why not take me to the movies anymore? Why not take me to dinners anymore? But what I really wanted to know was, why continue telling me you love me? Last but not least, you had this big smile that I loved to see. My friend once said that she would always see your smile and it would light up every time you saw me. That same smile I see in the halls almost every day. It's the most painful thing of all, because I know that you're happy without me.
So this doesn't have a title, so I'm just gonna do it. When I was little, school but pretends he doesn't because he's embarrassed. Or maybe that perfect girl hates the mirror and never eats. Or maybe the boy who thinks he's gay spends his entire life constantly praying that it's not true. But why? In our society, there's this set of standards by which we're all supposed to abide. Act a certain way, look a certain way, feel a certain way, be a certain way to talk, a certain way to see, a certain way to run, a certain way to be. And I hate that. It disgusts me, the fact that we are all expected to conform to these expectations, that people are made to feel ashamed of their diversity and of their individuality. Isn't the point of DNA to make us all different from each other? Shouldn't we be embracing the traits that we've been given that make us special? Why is it that people are made to hate themselves and to feel remorse about themselves and to wish that they could change? Now, I promise you that I'm not immune. I definitely have some issues too. I have fears and I'm insecure, and even though I'm a teenage girl, I'm not really sure if it's fair that I feel that way. I'm afraid. I'm afraid of the future and of uncertainty and of what other people think of me. I wake up every single day fearing the things that I don't know and fearing others' opinions, and a life in fear is a really shitty life to live. I don't have a solution, but someone once told me that we have to be brave, that bravery is the only way to truly conquer your fears and to be who we're truly meant to be. And I think she was right. I've come to realize that every single day, each of us makes a choice, whether it be subconsciously, about how to live our lives. It's not easy, trust me, I know, but I also know for a fact that I want to be happy with myself, and I'm pretty sure that most people do too. So maybe it's not society that needs a cleansing, maybe it's individuals themselves. It's an everlasting struggle, but I think I've finally learned that the only thing keeping you from being proud and strong and happy is yourself. And the only person who can fix that is you. So we have Drew Kodak.
Okay, my poem is inspired by one of my favorite movies. So it's Jurassic Park, the poem. I remember the first time I watched Jurassic Park, I was terrified for I saw it in the dark. Everywhere I turned, I swore I saw a T-Rex. In addition to fear, the film had other effects. I started to imagine myself amongst dinosaurs, and a plane crashed along the shore of an island with a large steel fence towering around, protecting us by keeping them out. The sound of a pterodactyl filled the air. I walked towards an abandoned building, unaware that a giant monster was nabbing at my hair. Thank God, it was a Bronchiosaurus, an herbivore. I admired his height and almost ignored the shaking of the floor. I trembled in shock when I saw in the distance a stampede of raptors. I knew I needed the Bronchiosaurus' assistance. The two of us managed to escape the deadly scene. I did not ask for this, I am only a teen. Eventually, I left the creature to be and for safety climbed up a tree. I wanted to escape this daydream, but it seemed all I could do was scream. As time went on, I searched the land and eventually found sand. The plane appeared and worked, which was weird. I made my way out of Jurassic Park. Luckily, I wasn't watching Jaws and imagined myself in the company of a great white shark. Thank you.
First off, I'd love to thank Ms. Garofalo for letting us express this side of us through writing. And my poem is named The Mirror, My Place, and the Human Race. And just so we're clear, this is the mirror. I'll be sort of kind of brief and rather cliche to this day. Every night was a battle for me. I wasn't in the safety of a crow's nest where I watched as the bombs fell over the bleeding sunset. No, I was watching myself from the ground as I rot away and deteriorate, because I studied everything around me and I saw in every possible scenario how it could end me. If life was a challenge, where's the finish line? There's no end in sight and there's no time for resting, because while the human race is growing in my world, people are leaving. You're reaping what you're sowing, and I don't know about you, but a race is no fun when you're alone on the track. If this is my punishment, then I deserve it, because I can't remember what I did wrong, but it sure as hell feels like I wronged someone. Is it you? Or you? Or you? No. It's you. I can't say sorry to you. I can't pull you into an embrace or give you any reassuring touch, because it's not even words can pierce through this thick skull, because it's lost its matter and replaced it with reinforcement. Veiled by a facade of kindness and silence, and if memory serves right, you were not like this before. When you were a child, you climbed that tree, free and courageous, courageous and free. Now you worry so much about falling on others that you forget that the bones that break your fall are yours. You scream and cry and toil in your room, but to them, it's just a mosquito flying in the air. It's annoying, and they want it gone. Get over it, they'll say. It's not that big of a deal, they say. At least, that's what these voices say. If I'm crazy, then give me a round of applause, because I am the biggest freak you know. This person with 2, no 6, no 10 faces. This person with 10 faces is the monster under my bed. It's disguised, but it would be a being you would abhor. Look not into the gleaming glass of sophistication, and you will see this. What? Were you expecting an answer? Wake up! I am not your teacher. I just gave it to you in this one empty word that can surmise this hollow existence. You don't have to say it. I already hear it like a song on repeat. I've listened to it so much that it has brainwashed me into complacency. Yet despite my mediocrity, it doesn't stop me from breaking my heart to piece together another. I won't let you give me a broken heart. Just take apart my shattered one to fix you. Because, well, from experience, this nothing can mean something to someone else. If this life was bred to help others, then I see no complaint. Do you want to know what I see? I see people come and go. Wonderful, terrible, fantastic, and problematic people, walking a tightrope made of yarn and worry. If you're walking that tightrope, I'll be your balancing beam. So, it's like this. I set up shop for the time being on the turf beside the human race. And whenever you happen to fall, I'll be there to patch you up with a nice cool glass of relief. This race is big and long, I believe. But remember to take a break and catch your breath, because these voices motivate me to motivate you. If you tumble out of a tree, I'll cushion your fall. Come one, come all, stay for dinner and a show. No? Don't like it? Then I'll take your rotten tomatoes, because I found a nice recipe that I can make with a grain of salt. Continue walking, climbing, and watching, my friends. And I know my friend here can agree. Life's not that hard with your soul, the only thing left to break. Everything else is just necessity.
Next up we have Amanda Walterman. Shout out to period 5. The name of my poem is What a Pity. What a pity I hail from a place that in Spanish means rat's mouth city, and in this place not a single woman thinks that she's pretty. Even though the women are witty, they insist on acting stupid and giddy. What a pity, there's all this hype among girls about prom. They'll do anything so their day they'll think that they're the bomb, but in 9 months we'll see who can go on MTV's Teen Mom. What a pity, in this city where it's almost always hot and sunny, everything and anything revolves solely around massive amounts of money. And if you can't keep up with the Joneses, well, that's too bad for you, Sonny.
What a pity there isn't one pricey car in a teacher's parking spot, but it's quite the contrary in the student lot. Most of the students with flashy cars don't deserve what they've got. They're mostly brats who think they're the next big shot. And ever since they were little, not a single moral lesson has been taught. What a pity the best things in life are free, but that's not the message portrayed when you watch TV. And apparently in the eyes of society, you're nothing if you don't at least drive an Audi. If your bag isn't at least Michael Kors, the wealthy teens probably won't deem you as cool. Sometimes they'll shoot the middle-class looks that can be perceived as cruel as if saying, ew, she probably doesn't even have an infinity pool. What a pity, in my hometown, all the viral comments made online with boys are mean. And that's what led to widespread eating disorders and the obsession with being lean. It shouldn't matter whether I'm a size 0 or a size 19. What a pity it's normal in Boca for boys to dress like they're a party boy in a fraternity, to act like they can make bad decisions and remain unaffected for the rest of eternity. But most of their girlfriends are dropping out of high school like flies to be on leave for maternity. What a pity. Halloween costumes are supposed to be creative and witty, but every girl in Boca dresses like a provocative-looking kitty. They should go into the main society where the floors are giddy and the cages are itty-bitty. What a pity. At school, on any flight of stairs, I have to walk at eye level with the flaps of some girl's butt that were once a pair of expensive pants that she took upon herself to cut. To be that desperate shows her self-esteem is certainly in a rut, so she feels the need to walk around looking like a slut. What a pity. Girls without makeup are told they look tired, depressed, hungover, sickly, or hostile, but at the other extreme, some girls like their shift just ended in a brothel. It's a lose-lose situation. The double standard is awful. What a pity the local ideal image includes enhanced boobs, butts, lips, and nose, with people slathering anti-wrinkle cream from their heads to their toes. After a while, local bimbos begin to look like clones, bleached blonde Oompa Loompas in couture clothes. What a pity. They're a woman whose silicone implants cost more than my car, and they go out scouting for men with low-cut tops, any local high-end bar. But the implant fund came from their kid's savings, so he can go to college and pass the bar. So now he has to start all over again with spare change in a jar. What a pity. Girls are taught to be financially dependent and to cater to their man's needs, like some sort of personal flight attendant, and marry wealthy with no hopes of ever becoming transcendent. What a pity the local lack of dreams and goals causes a load of peril and strife. In Boca, a popular dream is to become a trophy wife, to be seen but not heard, sitting pretty, accomplishing nothing for the rest of your life. What a pity. I keep an eye out for symptoms of Boca chick so I don't conform. I hope I never turn into a Boca Raton Stepford wife norm. What Boca Raton could really use is a violent storm of reform. What a pity my hometown, Boca Raton, is my pet peeve. I can't wait to graduate, go to college, and leave.
And you realize the person you know the least is yourself. On your bed, you sit and you stare, doing a homework assignment that was due 2 weeks ago. But I promise you, no amount of homework is ever going to give you the answer to the question you've been asking all along. Who am I? Who do I want to be? We've been asked this question since the very first day we walked into a classroom. We've been given answers. We've been given choices. A doctor, a lawyer, an astronaut, a firefighter, a paramedic, an actress, an artist, a CEO, an opera singer, a chef, a race car driver, a teacher, a photographer. That's not what I mean. Money, a big house, a Range Rover, 2 jet skis, 3 stories, a villa in France, caviar, lobster tails, champagne, diamonds, gold, a butler, a chauffeur. That's not it either. Who am I? Who do I want to be? What memory of myself do I want to leave behind for people to store in the attic that is their mind? To be preserved and kept like a precious family heirloom that only gets taken out when your family is moving? What footprints do I want to leave behind, creating a path for people behind me to follow? What impression of myself do I want the world to have when I'm no longer able to defend myself, my actions, my words? Who am I? Who do I want to be at the end of the day when the sun goes down and the world has nothing else to offer but the darkness and the thoughts that keep me up at night? Trying to answer this question can grab hold of you, taking you down into an infinite abyss, squeezing you tighter and tighter, and you're gasping for air, taking any last breaths you can before you're completely submerged. Your face becomes of a strange red hue, and your body is uncomfortably warm. Your eyes are watering, and your mouth becomes dry. You're reaching, you're grabbing, you're doing anything and everything you can to find your way back to the surface. Woo! Breathe. It's okay. They never said finding the answer to this question would be easy. It's okay. They said finding the answer to this question would be confusing. It's okay. It's a process. Steps, instructions. It's a game, choices, decisions. It's a story, beginning, ending. You are all you have. You sit in a room full of strangers, and you realize the person you know the best is yourself.
Our last act, Luke and Abe. If the bell rings, everyone please be seated.
Okay, I think the bell's going to ring, but we have this one act we really want to show you. So I'm going to run to the front office right now and ask if they will make an announcement to accept people late from the Rumble class.
Procrastination is the best, because some nights I need some rest. I work the best on the stress, because I don't have all the things to address. We did this the night before, so we didn't really practice it enough. Classic slack. We're gonna take a selfie real quick, so please,
Can't forget about scholarships too. A lot of things are required of you. Many skills are expected, so make sure you don't neglect them. But no time to kill. Deadline's coming fast, so you gotta make it past. Even if it's a rough draft, earn some money for your ass.
that's an everyday regular. Just an everyday. Just an everyday. Just an everyday.
Regular slacker.
That's an everyday.
Dear teachers, I don't need your sass. Like that one time I showed up to class, I was on time and you made me get a pass. Stick to your task. I'm at school until 8 o'clock. But this homework, I just won't stop. Science Olympiad is time consuming. AP Calc is so confusing. A push gets on my nerves. Because the quiz every day is absurd. Whatever though, the tests are fine, but maybe because they're online. And adios to Spanish 3, because foreign language ain't for me. Everyone speaks English, see, Google Translate is all you need.
You didn't really find out the lesson.
Did you write an ending?
No.
Oh, dude.